Good morning, everyone. It is a great day for everybody to tackle their career obstacles, get on a winning path, and to start believing in the power of our own stories. And that is kind of the uniting thread between what I'm going to talk to you about, what Andrea is going to talk to you about today. Um, just a couple introductions. I am Albert Bellamy. I am, some people call me Major Data. Actually, I call myself that. But anyway, I am a retired Marine. Turn the camera, you can see all the bric-a-brac on the walls. A little over 2 years now since I've retired from the Marine Corps, and I have done a lot of transitioning, a lot of learning, and I've transitioned into a data analytics career, which is not for everybody, I get it. But I've also transitioned into a personal branding thing, a micro influencer of sorts. And I've learned a lot of lessons within that journey. I now also do resumes as a side hustle. But I've learned a lot of lessons in that journey that I'd like to share with you here today. And with that, my co-host and my co-coach on this venture is Andrea. Andrea, tell the
Hello,
good people
good
who you are.
morning. Yes, good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. I am not as formally formal as my co-partner over here. That's why he keeps us together and keeps us organized. My name's Andrea. I have been part of the LinkedIn community for a long time. I was an early adopter of sorts, but I first started speaking up and speaking out on this platform in regard to military spouse employment and underemployment. And so that's where my background is kind of the advocacy within that space. And also I did a lot of project management early on and have pivoted and transitioned into really leaning into my business and utilizing LinkedIn and my voice to support my business and myself so I can support my family. So that's a little bit about me. As far as what I do, like I had mentioned, I'm a coach, and I like to say an executive coach, but realistically, when you're coaching executives, it leans into a lot of different things. It's not just your executive life. Sometimes it leans into your career trajectory and what you'd like to do. Sometimes it leans more into the communication, personal and professional, and how it's impacting all the things that affect your uh, personal decision making and just everything in life. So I'm not a life coach by any means. I'm not technically trained as a
Not
counselor,
yet.
but I talk a lot about careers and goals and how to strategically put all those things together to make the best path for you. And I use my project management background, I think, comes in handy to translate all of that. So excited to be here today. Thank you for inviting me and proposing this collab. I'm really excited to help some people and look forward to meeting some new people hopefully today as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so intros out of the way. I'm going to kind of dominate the camera a little bit. As you can see, I've got quite a few things written on my giant marker boards left and right. So I'm going to talk to you for a little bit about resumes and writing and communicating your story in written forms. That's my specialty. I will cut back over to Andrea. She will talk to you a bit more about the mindset and the communication side of things. Those two go hand in hand. Then we'll talk about, hey, we got free stuff. So we each have a great free offering for you just for being here today. And we're thrilled for the people that we have here. And then at the end of that, we'll talk to you about other things that we have to offer. I do have to drop off a couple minutes early because I have a class to teach this morning. I have a 9 to 5 job. And so Andrea is going to take it from there. But for right now, let me talk to you about my kind of special sauce here. So don't be in awe of all of the stuff on the marker board. What I'd like to talk to you about today are some lies that we tell ourselves, some myths that exist. And in my journey with this, writing resumes and communicating people's stories to employers, I've come across things that come up again and again and again. And there are common threads with people. There are beliefs, mistaken beliefs that we cling to desperately. And that to me is the biggest obstacle between the haves and the have nots in the job market. Those of you that are struggling to find work, the kind of work that you want and need and deserve. The difference between you and the people that are successful, the people that get what they want, are these beliefs that we have in our head. We all struggle with them. I do as well. I've got some of them written out on the board here. What's the first belief? The first lie. And it's in red, so maybe a little difficult to see, but the lie is, and I hear people say this all the time, I only, all I did was, and then fill in the blank. Whatever I accomplished is minimalized. Why? Because it's simple for me. It becomes muscle memory, becomes rote. It's the thing that you do every day. It doesn't matter how impressive it is objectively. You believe that it's not that significant because you minimize your own accomplishments. So there's the lie. When I interview people and I talk to them about their resumes, I ask them their story. Explain to me these resume bullets that you have here. What is this accomplishment? What is this daily activity? And it's I only. All I did, I was a member of a team. They share credit. They self-efface. And that is the absolute wrong attitude to have when trying to sell yourself, when presenting yourself in a written form or in a verbal form. So what's the truth? Well, it relates to this right here. The truth is, my unique story is powerful. Let me go ahead and write these down. And I want you to internalize that phrase, unique story. My unique story is powerful. Now, I debated a few different words for that, and I settled on power. And that's the message that I want to get across, is that you need to understand the power of believing in your own story and knowing that the things you've accomplished are impressive. That is irregardless, it's a word I love, irregardless of who you are, whether you are pivoting from another industry, whether you're pivoting from another job, you're a teacher, you're burned out, you're coming into corporate world, you're a service member, retiring, separating, you're a military spouse or you've been a stay-at-home parent for quite some time, and now you're coming into the job world, you're nervous, and you don't believe in the things that you've done because they're easy for you. It's not that they're not impressive. It's that you've done them so many times. In the military, we used to say, oh, it's common sense. It's not that big a deal. The fact that it is common sense for you, the fact that it is muscle memory for you, feeds that lie. It's not unimpressive just because you're good at it. Right? Now, let me tell you when I realized that my story was powerful. There was a veterans group that I was involved in. I laughed because it kind of didn't end well. But there was a veterans group that I was involved in while I was still in the Marine Corps. And somehow, some way, I got put in charge of turning away non-veterans that tried to join the group. It was a LinkedIn group. At least that's where it was organized. One lady that I had to send a message to and say, hey, you're not a veteran, you can't join this veterans only group. She and I started talking. And she was asking how to get veterans into her company. She wanted a talent pipeline. I didn't have much time to spare. I was still working 11, 12, 13 hours a day as a battalion executive officer, but I gave her what time I could, and that was my afternoon commute, sometimes evening commute. About a half an hour from my office to my house in Cedar Point, North Carolina. I scheduled a time with her, made sure that I left at that time. We got on the phone, and I'm driving through kind of the backwoods of North Carolina. She's talking to me about how to build a veteran talent pipeline. And I was telling her about different groups she could connect with and places she could go and techniques she could use with kind of language she could speak. No expectation from that conversation. About 2/3 of the way home, she said, okay, so how would I get you into my company? I'd pull over and said, hey, this is a very different conversation. Let me I was giving it about, 50% of my attention, whatever I didn't need to drive home the way that I'd been for 2 years. And I wound up actually working for that company for about a year and a half. I went into that conversation with no expectations. And at the time, I was very nervous and very unsure of my own story. I didn't believe in the power of my uniqueness and what I brought to the table. I was just helping her trying to find other veterans to hire. When she said, "What about you?" suddenly I realized something that I had communicated to her, something about my attitude of service and helpfulness was the thing that she wanted to hire. It wasn't that I was an accomplished analyst or had these years of experience. It was just the fact that I was willing to help her and that she saw value in that. And when I started talking about the things that I had done, she could see what I could bring to offer to the company. And I feel like I did a great job for them. So the truth that we need to accept is that our stories are powerful. Whatever your story is, wherever you're coming from, if you're here, if you're putting forth the effort, if you're taking a chunk out of your workday or getting up early if you're on the West Coast, bless you, your story is powerful. You've done something amazing, I'm pretty sure. What about number two? The lie. Where's my number two? Right here. I need one more. I need one more of something. Now, I got a blank here. I need one more what? Well, could be anything. Certificate. Using the wrong end of the marker there. Certificate. Degree. Year of experience. One more is what I need. That's the obstacle between me and that job I want. That's the lie we tell ourselves. And that's the lie that I told myself. Now, if you take nothing else from this today, here's what I want you to take from it. Let me use a different color. This one's important. Here's the truth. I am enough. Probably didn't write that big enough. It's important. Now, I'm big on affirmations. So this may feel a bit weird the first time, but I promise you, like most good things, the awkwardness goes away quickly. If you say it out loud with me, it has power. I am enough. Now, I do my affirmations every morning and every night, and I'll show them to you. Just revise them for the new year. Not that. There's 13 of them. Guess what number 13 is? I am enough. Think about what that means. Think about how powerful that is. If you can, let me get out of the way. If you can believe that, if you can internalize that, I am enough. You don't need one more. You are who you are today. You are qualified to do some rewarding, amazing job today. Whoever you are, that's what you bring to the table. You can work on the other skills and figure out what you need when you get there. I am enough. Let me tell you about when I learned this. Now, still on my affirmations, I learn this every day and every night, and I forget it every day and every night. What's the greatest thing about social media? Also, the worst thing about social media. Everybody's perfect, right? You go on Facebook, what do you see? I love to cook. What do I see on Facebook? It's perfect people. They're perfect dinners. Everybody on Thanksgiving has got their dinner all laid out, right? Their turkey is like this beautiful golden brown. The drumsticks aren't dry. Everything's hot and delicious and perfectly arranged on the table all at the same time. They've got like a centerpiece. What the heck is that? My Thanksgiving's delicious, but it looks like a dumpster fire. You see these perfect people, they're perfect vacations, their kids all get along. Nobody's ever sitting there talking about the strife that they go through. The worst of all is LinkedIn. And I love LinkedIn, but there are so many perfect people on LinkedIn with their perfect careers and their perfect skill sets. Let me tell you, first of all, there are very few people actually talking on LinkedIn. Second of all, the people that are talking that look perfect, I've met a lot of them. They're not so perfect. They're like you and me. Where I realize that I am enough, professionally at least, yeah, where I realized that was when I chose to be imperfect on LinkedIn, on social media. One of my first big posts when I was still in the Marine Corps and I was still learning and I was just getting there, I was learning something called SQL. Now, those of you that are not in data, you don't know what SQL is. SQL is one step up from Microsoft Excel. If Excel is the gateway drug to data analytics, SQL is kind of from the crawl to the very beginning of the walk phase. Junior analysts generally do SQL. You're pulling data from a database. It's nug work. It's the first thing that you've got to learn. And I was just beginning to learn it on the advice of some mentors. And I chose to post about that, about a learning journey. And all I did was I stepped out and I posted, I kid you not, the SQL logo, which just looks like a little cylindrical pancake stack. So I mean, it's the dumbest thing ever. It just little stack says SQL. And then I said, hey, I'm starting to learn SQL. I've just bought this class and I'm taking it. And does anybody have any recommendations? And I listed a couple other things where I looked up SQL problems. That thing blew up, avalanche. And I don't think I realized the power of that at the time, but as I went on, I realized that if you are willing to be imperfect out in public, that has tremendous power. If you are willing to bring your mistakes out, don't look like a chump. But if you are willing to be vulnerable and to say, I learned this today, and I'm not all the way there, I'm not perfect. I burned the Thanksgiving turkey. The kids are fighting, there's a mess. My uncle's talking politics. It's okay to bring those things out. So the fact is, I am enough. Being a learner, I am enough. And I was enough to get gainful employment in large part because I was willing to get out there and talk about my learning journey and not being perfect at that time. All right. So that's number 2. The first lie, minimizing. What's the truth? My unique story is powerful. The second lie, I need something. I need one more. What's the truth? I am enough. Now, with these affirmations, if you write them, if you look at them, you read them, you say them, think of all those senses that's going in, right? You're touching it, you're seeing it, you're hearing yourself say it. All of these things magnify the power. Now, I'm not going to lick the board so I can't taste it. And if I smell it, it's probably going to smell like dry erase marker. But I've got as many senses as I can involve in internalizing this. And I urge you to do the same. All right, last one, and then I'll hand it over to Andrew. Where am I going? Right here. Number 3, the lie relates closely to number 2. The X factor is holding me back. What's holding me back? Could be anything. Let's go blue again. What is X? What is the thing that's stopping me? I hear this one a lot, the ATS, Applicant Tracking System. Talk about that for a second. The ATS is holding me back. I need to work remote. That's holding me back. I don't live in the right location. I suppose that's more or less the same thing. That's holding me back. I have a family situation. I got to take care of my kids. All of these things, these low bars. In the Marine Corps, we would do the obstacle course. And the first obstacle was just this one log right here. It was about knee high. And it was nothing. I mean, you could, if you got a good enough running jump, you could just vault the thing without touching it. They made us put our hands on it and push up and over. But it was nothing. People wondered, like, why is it even there? It's just to slow you down before you hit the big obstacles. Make sure that you were putting max effort and strength into the obstacles that were high, you had to flip over, okay? These are low bars. They may seem like Mount Everest. I assure you that at least that ATS is a low bar to clear, okay? Applicant tracking system. It is very easy to blame things, situations, stuff that we feel is acting against us. The applicant tracking system is a thing that employers use to screen resumes. People think that the ATS is some fire-breathing monster that crushes dreams and takes away 75, 80% of the resumes submitted. Not true. The ATS is to screen out unqualified and frivolous candidates. If you communicate your story effectively in written and verbal form, the ATS is not going to be a problem for you. It will be that proverbial low bar, little volt, and you're past it onto the real issues. All right. Remote, location, family, all of these things. Folks, when I got my first gainful employment as a data analyst, I was a full-time Marine. And when I say full-time, I mean I was in the office 13 hours a day, plus half an hour to get there and half an hour to get back. I had a family situation. I had 2 boys still playing travel baseball. Every weekend was spent driving around, taking them to a baseball tournament, watching them play baseball, and driving them back. You want to talk about situations. Now, I wasn't changing their diapers. I get that's a different form of stress. However, the truth is what? Now, I'm not going to, this one's kind of long, so I'm not going to write this whole thing out. But the truth here, also, I didn't leave myself any space. The truth is, your biggest obstacle is your struggle to tell your unique story. So here I have it on the other marker board. You have value. You are enough. Your story is powerful. The obstacle between you and success is communicating this right here. Okay. So let me tell you about that, and then I'll hand it over to Andrea because I'm already starting to edge over time. Let me tell you the story about how I made myself the social media manager of a data analytics company. I was still in the Marine Corps. I was just listening to podcasts to try and educate myself. I made it a habit to start contacting the podcasters at the end and maybe their guests and saying, hey, you're interesting. I like your podcast. I like when you pointed this, that, and the other out. Maybe we could connect. One of them was doing a podcast out of Greensboro, North Carolina, which is about 5 hours away from me, just far enough to be thoroughly inconvenient. But he had a podcast called How to Be a Data Analyst or How to Get an Analytics Job. Sorry, screwed that up. I mean, how appropriate is that? So I started talking to him. At some point, he said, hey, would you like to run our LinkedIn page? You're pretty good at this LinkedIn thing, and we're not. I took over the LinkedIn page. I blew up the LinkedIn page. And then I said, well, I'm not really that good at these other social media platforms, but it doesn't look like you have a presence on Instagram or Twitter. And he said, sure, knock yourself out. He wasn't paying me anyway. So I started 3 or boosted up 1, the LinkedIn page, and started 2 other social media accounts. And then I started doing promotions on YouTube. So I was going out on 4 different social media channels just in my spare time, throwing out posts, seeing what stuck. After a while, I blew up the following on each of those platforms, not so much on Twitter, but the other 3 for sure, to the point where I changed that job on my LinkedIn profile and later on my resume. I was the Silvertone Analytics social media manager. Now, it started out as a joke. The guy that hired me for the unpaid position kind of had a good laugh about it, and I did too. But that shows you that that obstacle, my full-time job, taking care of my kids, spending time with my wife, all of these things that I had obligations to, chosen obligations. My wife's out there. I don't want her to think that she's an obstacle. However, all of these things that I was owed my time to, that needed my attention first and foremost, they were nothing compared to the determination when I decided, hey, I am this. I believe in the power of my story. I believe in my abilities. And by God, I'm a social media manager. Why not? Tell me otherwise. Okay. So those are the 3 lies. The truth that we need to hold to ourselves. Our unique story is powerful. We are enough. If you get nothing else, just remember that. I want you to go through your day today repeating that to yourself. I am enough. Okay. Punch yourself in the chest too if you're all right with that. And the only obstacle you have, the only real obstacle that needs to be overcome is your ability, let me reveal, your ability to tell your unique story in written form and in verbal form. I'll leave you with that. Andrea, your show.
All right. You tell me when to kick off here as far as like when you want to regroup. So So many great comments. First of all, thank you everybody for joining in the chat. That makes things a lot easier for us because we're here to serve you and hopefully help as many people as we can. That's really the goal of this, because we know there are a lot of people that are um, maybe in a time of uncertainty in their job. Maybe they're hurting. Maybe they just got laid off, or they've been part of, well, laid off, or maybe they have a PCS on the horizon. All the things within our life, whether you're military or civilian, it doesn't matter. Um, any sort of uncertainty can impact our journey, professionally and personally. And I think one thing I want to acknowledge is that everybody's story is indeed unique, and the barriers or the obstacles that you have in front of you, or the things that you might have had that have held you up in the past, are definitely real. Like, let's acknowledge that, right? Because Albert kind of glazed over it a little bit, and I want to hit it home, especially for those that are the default parent, that are the ones that are responsible for getting kids dressed, out the door, to school on time, then to work, meetings, picked up from daycare before it closes so you don't get the late fee. Like, I understand. I understand because I've been there. I understand that that's hard, and I'm understanding that there are many jobs that don't always allow for that. So let's just put that out there, that it is a real thing. It is a real thing that you have to overcome that, and you have to figure out a way to make that work within your professional life. Now, what we're here to talk about is, how do we boost your career and find something that works for you so that you have an impactful journey, that you something you feel proud of. I'm not saying that you have to have a 70-hour a week super powerful CEO Fortune 500. If there was somebody in our audience that is that person, like, hot dog, we have certainly succeeded. I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of us in this crowd, and I speak for myself and many of my friends and clients when I say we want a job that brings us some dignity, that brings us some, um, it is fulfilling. It makes our mind bend. Sometimes we really like to focus in on helping others, whether it's those that we're serving as a leader or the clients that we're serving. So don't get bent on what the title is. Figure out what it takes for you to be successful. Part of it is our four basic walls. We have to cover the bills every month. The energy bill is going to come, the rent's going to come due, all of those sorts of things. So part of it is financial. But what else do we have to do to feel fulfilled? And what else would it take for us to feel like we are growing and we are thriving professionally? And part of that is eliminating those self-limiting beliefs. What's holding you back? Part of it is a mindset shift, but also part of it is just putting it on paper and seeing it. Facts are your friends. Don't let things get carried away. Put things on paper that you want to do, and don't let yourself have things that stand in the way or barriers to that. Um, if anybody has any questions, for sure you can pop it up for me. But don't let your barriers or your goals. Don't let barriers get in the way of your goals. So that's one thing that I would like to focus on is there are very few things in this life that are 100% predictable outside of death and taxes. And even then, taxes are the only ones that we know the timeline on. So let's make sure that we're making goals for ourselves professionally that are that we can work towards, that we can strive towards, that we can put mile markers and creative plans in place so that we can reach those goals. So part of what I have done, a personal story for me, like I said, I started here in advocacy, and I was technically trained as a project manager. I thought that was how I was going to make my living. I thought that was going to be my job full time. When I got back to the States in 2020, I had a baby, and then I wanted to join the workforce in 2021. And I had a lot of self-limiting beliefs because I was up against a lot of barriers, right? Childcare, spouse gone a lot, all of those things, middle of a pandemic, all of those things that we all have to deal with. It looks different for everybody, but everybody has something. And I took a lot to heart when I was putting my resume out there, when I was applying for jobs and I wasn't getting them. I took it to heart when I made it to fourth round interviews and I still didn't get selected. I took it to heart when all that I could find was contract work. And part of it was, now looking back, I know there was a greater plan and there was something for me. If you believe in a higher power of any sort, there's something for me that I needed to pursue the coaching more so than I needed to pursue a full-time role. But it didn't feel like that at the time. So I'll acknowledge your feelings. If you're in a certain spot that's similar to mine, where you've been on a hard journey, where you've been trying to network, you've been trying to make connections, you've been speaking with mentors, you've been speaking with others in your industry, uh, and you still feel stuck, you still feel rejected, you still feel like there is just no place for you and nobody sees your value, I would say part of it definitely is how you're presenting yourself. And we can talk about that in coaching because everybody's different. But part of it is shifting and believing that you are worthy of that spot as well. If you show up in an interview and you are desperate for a role and you'll do anything, then you come off as desperate. But if you come to an interview with the mindset, like Albert was talking about, that you're enough, that you are exactly what they need, that you don't need another certification or another this or another that. If you meet most of the job requirements, if you have some relevant experience, you're probably qualified enough. If you got the interview, you're definitely qualified enough. They wouldn't invite you in to waste their time. So, how are you going to go from having that interview to having that job? And it's showing up with the right mindset. It's showing up with the idea in mind that you are the person for this job and that you're going to share with them your authentic story, that you're going to share with them the experiences that make you unique. You're going to share with them the characteristics that make you the best employee. And you're going to share with them what you can do for the company beyond just being in the seat every day. You can demonstrate your history of success. You can demonstrate your strategic thoughts and abilities. You can demonstrate your creativity and the ideas that you have for within this role. There's many things that you can do once you land the interview, but it's very hard if you're in this cycle of consistently shotgun spraying out your interview or your resume to anybody and everybody that will take it and then not getting anything in return. Part of that is looking at how you're approaching getting the interview, and then part of it is how you're showing up in that interview. So one thing that I will say with regard to that is, well, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. We'll get into the interview. We talk about that in coaching for sure. But I do want to talk a little bit about how you're going to get that interview in the first place. It's going to be talking and utilizing your networking skills and leveraging the tools that you have in front of you. Obviously, Albert and I truly believe in the power of LinkedIn, but we take LinkedIn beyond just putting a message out there and hoping people read it. First of all, I mean, that's great. I guess that's a good first step. But simply doing that likely isn't going to get you the kind of network that's going to serve you well in terms of your professional growth. We both make personalized connections almost probably daily, either through comments or direct messages, or I host a lot of in-person events just to bring my network and my community a little bit smaller because that's important to me. And I've seen the power of that and I've seen it work. Likewise, meeting others for coffee within the field that you want to be in. If, let's say, you've been laid off and you've decided this is the time to pivot, well, you need to have a better understanding of what you're pivoting into. Perhaps you were a teacher and you got out of the teaching industry when you had kiddos at home during the pandemic. And now you want to go into training and development for an organization. Or perhaps you want to go into instructional design. Those are both very common pivots. Lots of people are doing that. So I would say that definitely make sure you're speaking to the people in that industry and making connections with people that are doing that same job before you just blindly apply and put your resume out there. It's not going to work if you simply have just your resume and you have teaching experience. You're likely not going to get picked up. Part of the reason that Albert and I teamed up is because he is really great at helping you find that unique story and telling it on the resume in a way that will get you the interview. The reason that I'm a part of this equation is we need to talk about how, once you get the interview, you speak about yourself in a way that others are going to support those beliefs and offer the job. Again, we're going to overcome some mindsets. We're going to overcome some self-limiting beliefs. There's a lot that we could do there. I have clients that I've worked with for months not just to get the job as they're making a transition, but also once they've gotten the job to ensure that they don't let those beliefs come into play and keep them from growing professionally. So some of those contracts go longer, but this is going to be kind of a quick boost on your career because we know people are hurting right now. So we wanted to put together a package that helped people right now with the things that they have going on in their lives to support them in whatever they want to do, however they want to grow. So, Albert, anything I forgot on that one?
Oof, I was not ready to come back on stage. Yeah, sorry, I was monitoring comments there. No, that was fantastic. And yeah, absolutely. So just to backtrack, did not mean to minimize anyone's actual obstacles. These are not problems. They're just the mindset, as you said, is the biggest thing to overcome them. So yeah, when I was working 13 hours a day, when I was spending my whole weekend driving around watching 4 baseball games, those were real obstacles. But to, as you said, are they lies or excuses? Kind of depends on your perspective. It's however you treat them. But if you choose to have these things be the reason you don't succeed, then that is a mindset problem as well as a legitimate obstacle.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, I just wanted to um, definitely give some credit and some acknowledgement to that because um, I have been in that seat where I felt hopeless as far as not having a way out, not having the support that I needed from a partner to have a full-time role, and not having the connections locally and just feeling lost and not knowing what to do. So just saying I've been in your shoes before. If that is any of you out there, I am definitely there for you and I feel it. It's a real feeling for sure. And I just want to talk to just a really quick thing about the connections. Sonia, thank you for mentioning that. I can't remember the last time that I got a job that I formally applied for. Like it's all been through, hey, you're new in town. I met somebody. Give me your resume so I can hand it off. The formal application process has never worked for me. It's always been through those connections. Now, I've also never had Albert do my resume, so that's a whole different thing. We'll have that discussion offline. But I will say that it is really critical, even though it might feel uncomfortable, to make those connections in person, virtually, so that you have some extra, I don't know, some extra, tools in your toolbox so that you can get that job or get that interview. So,
absolutely. And for uh, on my side, I have never, I will say I've never had a full-time job that I got through a formal application process. I've definitely received job offers, firm like offer sheets from a formal application process, and had times where I got called in for a phone screen or an interview, and at some point I said, "Hey, this is not for me." But those did come from formal application process, so it can be done. And yeah, I people that when I write resumes, I keep tabs on them. If they don't become strangers, I tell them they now have to be my friend, which may be my ulterior motive.
is
But
that a
I start
benefit
there.
or
Yeah, I don't know.
okay?
When we get to yeah, we'll get to that. But absolutely, yeah, no, no offense. Um, but for sure, it's there are many paths to employment, and a formal application process is one. Networking is another. My advice: why not both? You can't go wrong hedging your bets.
Mhm, absolutely.
Yeah,
And I think we should probably introduce the offer, like what we're going to do
yeah,
for the folks that have attended. So that way, if there's any questions about it, and then also so that you can still be on for a few of the questions if people have resume specific questions
for sure.
versus career search / networking / interview questions.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with what you get just for being here. If you're ready to show yours. I pulled the trigger on this just a bit early. Oh, come on. Is it not going to show up? There we go.
It did before.
There.
That was
I
intense.
know it did.
I don't have
It
anything
popped
that
up.
looks like that.
There we go.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, so there's a silly AI picture of me in like some sort of Assassin's Creed costume. Just playing around one day, and I was like, this would look good on a document. These are my top 10 resume tips I have reviewed in my nascent side hustle career here. I have reviewed, I would say, between 200 and 300 resumes, a lot from data analysts, a lot from transitioning military, especially kind of early on. So I know that there's a special sauce. Like there's things that veterans tend to do wrong in their resumes. There are things that military spouses tend to do wrong. There are things that data analysts tend to do wrong. And a lot of those are cultural. It's depending on if you're coming from academia, where you are. But I've boiled it down to 10 things. And when I do my lowest offer is just written resume review. People send me their resume. I screen it. I highlight some things that I think they should change. I send them back with, usually 7 or 8 things that they can work on. These tips are the 10 biggest things that I see. So you want to pull this thing off. I have not offered it yet. I don't know what I'm going to sell it for, but you've been here, so you can get that for free. Andrew, do you want to talk about yours?
Yeah, I can talk about it. I don't have a screenshot for you.
Yeah,
I'm not
I've
technically
totally
on top
ambushed
of
you.
things. I don't have a whiteboard. I'm clearly, we are like oil and water, but somehow it seems to work.
Learn.
So just stay tuned for the last part here. But mine is a worksheet. And it's a worksheet to talk about what some of your goals are, what some of the things are that you're saying are not working for you, and to get you thinking about how to overcome some of those things. So even if you choose not to do any coaching, that perhaps just spending some time thinking about that might give you the creative juices you need to get beyond some of those blockers and barriers that have been holding you up in the past. So it's very simple, like a one pager. We're not getting in too deep because honestly, if you're trying to make a career transition and things like that, you might not have a lot of time to devote to the process. So just wanted to keep it simple.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds great. So, you've been here today. We appreciate the audience. It gives us a chance to improve and to kind of make ourselves better and get better at this. Is not going to be, I'm sure, the last time that Andrew and I do a webinar together or that talk through this. And I thank you for being part of our learning process. And, hey, if that's all you want from us and you got some good knowledge here today, you got lessons from both of us, you get the free offers, amazing. There are people that want more. So for the last couple of weeks, I've shut down resume services. We thought we were going to do this like 8 or 9 days ago. Yep. And then I got pulled for jury duty.
Yeah, let's be clear that it was you that had jury duty and you were being a good citizen of your community. So thank you for your civil service and fulfilling that requirement. We appreciate that.
I am a good person. Yeah, I do say so myself. And humble too.
Humble, incredibly humble.
I'm really believing in my story now. So much so that my favorite cologne is called.
This is what happens when you get him off the whiteboards, guys. This is what happens. So just okay, back to the offer.
When I ad lib, it gets obnoxious. So free stuff. I won't put that on the offer, but it's worth something. It's a good gouge. And if you just take my top 10 resume tips, apply them to your resume, it is going to be better. If that's the thing that gets you a job, what would that be worth to you? A ton. I don't even want to estimate. But let's talk about, so I shut down the things that I offer through my professional site a couple of weeks ago, and there's been great hue and cry and gnashing of teeth from people that want resumes written since then, and I've given them all the Heisman just to prepare for this, to set this up, this collaboration. And so I'm opening the floodgates again. I turned on this package offer this morning. Let me tell you about it real quick. So first thing you're going to get, so I just put 60 minutes here. I'll put my co-host first. You're going to get 60 minutes, Andrea's Power Hour. So that is going to be the coaching on mindset, on getting yourself right, getting to believe in yourself, getting to be able to say these things out loud that are going to enable you to get the job. Let me shift over here. I got more room. They're going to enable you to get that great job. So that's probably going to be on the second half. We need the resume first because that's the
And
first hurdle,
also,
right?
it could also be with regard to thinking through some of the things that you have in your life, what careers are going to be a better suit for you. So
Absolutely.
it can be flip flopped. For instance, if you already
Yeah.
know exactly what you want to do, you're technically trained as a project manager, you have this experience and whatnot, and we need to get you well, let's review the resume first and then do the coaching. But let's say you're somebody that is re-entering the workforce or has been underemployed for a period of time. We can talk about what careers are going to work best for you with your unique situation and maybe some of those barriers, and then do the resume accordingly. So I think we can
Absolutely.
flip flop it if that's okay with you.
For sure. Yeah. So we will each have our schedules on there. Pardon me. And so it's not Andrea's schedule's not ready now because it's on a site that I've been using. We had to pivot a few times last minute, but Andrea, tell me again, what does an hour of your coaching go for once
Yeah,
you're
absolutely. So
fully?
an hour of coaching is an hour for you, and we will get through. I think probably the most people from this session are going to want to talk through some of those barriers, some of those blockers, whether it's
Yep.
mental barriers or whether it's actual barriers within their personal life that have kept them from getting to the job that they want. And we're going to outline what our goals are and put a plan in place to get there. Again, one session, it's hard to do a lot. Usually long-term coaching relationships work really well for getting not just the job, but then seeing through and reaching some goals. But we'll get some things laid out so you do have a plan in place and you feel more confident going into interviews. You feel more confident once you're in the seat, whether you're leading or you're an individual contributor, and you have the tools you need to be successful.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm bringing up my class. I got to lead here. 10 minutes. All right, let's power through. So 60 minutes of Andrea's coaching. We're gonna put that value at 150, just for funsies. All right.
Yep, that's accurate.
Good. Okay. So I'll put my time at the same. Now this is my special sauce. You're gonna get an hour face to face with me. And that's going to be an hour so that I can understand your story and I can turn it around on you. The eureka moment that I see in people's eyes is when they tell me, this is all I did. I'm just playing with Excel. I'm just entering data. And I just turn it around on them. And I say, so what you're telling me is you worked with cross-functional teams across multiple departments. You presented information to stakeholders in reliable fashion over a period of X years to this many students, and their minds are blown because all I've done is listen to what they say and put an objective spin on it. Remember, your story is powerful. Okay. So that's my secret sauce. I listen to you and make the resume based on what your story actually is, not the minimal version you've put up in your head. That resume, that's worth $400 on the open market. So that's what professional resume writers are charging. $400 now. The value of a great resume could be thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands if it gets you that job that you really want, and the resume is your blocker. Search engine optimization. I pay for JobScan, and I know how to use it better than most people do. So the ATS is the thing. It does screen out some resumes, and if yours is poorly written, the ATS may be a blocker for you, but it is a low hurdle. And a quick search engine optimization based on a job that you want can help you get in there, at least get into the interview room. $50 value. Written review. I'm going to give you back your original resume and highlight the things that you need to change on it. If you need to go forward and do edits yourself and you need to make multiple copies, that's going to be tremendously valuable. I charge $50 for that. And then a feature post. This is something that I've been toying with for a while. I plan to, everybody that buys this package, I'm going to talk about you on LinkedIn. It's just what I do.
Tell them how many people would see that.
30,000.
Roughly. Okay.
No, I have 30,000 followers. They don't all see all my content. It's just how LinkedIn works. But yeah, 30,000 followers. Andrea's got quite a few more, but just LinkedIn, things can go viral. And the help posts that I've done before on this is Brianna, and she's a friend and she's looking for a job. She's coming from the MilSpouse world, et cetera. Those posts blow up. Everybody likes to see those. Everybody wants to support them. So they tend to do very well. So feature post, all of that, I tallied it up earlier. All of that, if all you were doing was paying for those things, that would be $900. Now, like I said, the actual value, who knows? If it gets you a job, sky's the limit. All right. Now, what are we going to charge? Pardon my chicken scratch. $247. Generally, the package for me alone, I've been charging $200. I was getting ready to bump it up before I shut operations down. Andrea, $150. So even if that's all you got, you'd still be getting a discount just off of my resume package and an hour of her coaching. The value far beyond that. So $247 for all of those things. You can go on TopMate on my site, click on the package, you'll get the whole thing, and it'll take care of the transaction. Now, we want to do something special because I'm a retired Marine. Andrea is a military spouse, and that community is special to us. So if you are a military spouse, a veteran, or a still active service member, we're going to knock $100 off of that. That's 147. Now, quickly before I have to drop, I want to address, people sometimes ask, why is it not free? Why don't you do these things for free? Well, aside from the obvious that we have many, many demands on our time, and my obligation is to my family first, and whatever is left, I offer to you, but my time's not free. I pay somebody to come mow my lawn because I hate gardening. If you hate writing resumes, you got to pay somebody to do it, somebody that's good at it. Okay. Now, there's certain things I could look up little plumbing jobs on YouTube and go try and do them myself, but then I run the risk of what? Screwing it up, breaking something, and then having to pay somebody to come in and fix what was wrong in the first place, but then also what I broke. I would much rather just pay an expert to do that for me and let me spend my time doing the things that I'm good at. All right. The other thing is, if I give you something for free, you generally don't value it. I used to volunteer and give a ton of hours away to transitioning military for free, doing coaching, doing advising. And the rate of ghosting was like astronomical. It was like 50%. So I won't name the organization, but I was with an organization where I was doing hour-long coaching sessions, and half of the sessions I would get ghosted. I eventually just shut that down. Okay. If you don't pay for something, if you don't have skin in the game, you don't value it. It is the same for all of us. All right. So there is something special that happens when you shell out some hard-earned money for something that you value. You're going to put your effort into that. You're going to have skin in the game, and you're going to make sure that thing goes to good use. I'm not just going to write a resume for someone and they throw it in the trash can and go the other way. All right. So that is all the time I have. I must tend to my 9 to 5 now. Thanks everybody for being here. Andrea is going to stick until the questions peter out. Thank you, Andrea, for collabing on this. This has been wonderful.
And I did drop the link in the chat for anybody who wants the free stuff. So obviously the free stuff is the free stuff. You just have to go on there and you put in your email and your contact so that we can send it to you. It'll be there in the next day or so. We'll kind of wait for everybody to get their stuff in. So the free stuff are those 2 handouts. And then if you want to do the coaching stuff, just let us know and we can get you the links for that as well. So what kind of questions? I know there are kind of a variety of people in the class or in the group. Happy to answer any questions. Just drop them in the chat because I don't have all the techie. I'm just the guest on the StreamYard, so I can't see everything, but I can see the chat questions coming in from, it looks like YouTube and LinkedIn. So if anybody has a question or anything I can help with. Yes, Jeremy, it did take a turn. Sorry about that. We have to pay the light bill too sometimes. But let's see here. One question that I did have, I think I saw in the chat earlier, or that I get a lot is, well, why should I just look for something that is a better fit? Why not just stick it out? And well, part of that is it's you. It's your life. You're spending your hours away from your family on this. You're spending your precious time on this planet. You might as well feel like you're bringing value to others. And you might as well feel like they're gaining something from your knowledge and from your experience. And remember, that is going to kind of knock out that belief that you're not enough, because you are. How do we sign up for the coaching offer? good question. I think what we're going to do is we're just going to have you message Albert, and then he will send you the link for the top mate, the top mate link. And so all it is in there. That's all he has. This is where he's the technical side. I am just here to be, you know, a lovely hostess, also here for the witty comments. So the link for the free stuff, it should be in the chat, so you should see me comment on that. I said one more time, free stuff a few comments ago. And yes, Albert does need a Fusion Cell shirt. You need to get that to him. Send Albert a message if you want to sign up for the coaching and resume package, and then grab the link from the chat if you want the free stuff. Also in the free stuff, in that form, if you want to leave some feedback, let us know what you want to learn more about. If you have questions or you have more pointed topics that we need to cover, let us know. Happy to help you out. We love doing this. And again, the reason that we did this is because so many people in our networks have been impacted so deeply right now. It's kind of the perfect storm of PCS season, and then also a lot of layoffs, especially our friends within tech, and then a lot of my marketing friends as well. So we really wanted to do something that we felt was a good value, that was helpful, and that was meaningful to people, that they would be able to get something just from attending this live session, but then also they had a resource that they could lean on if they felt they needed more than just a quick 50 minutes on LinkedIn. So what if anybody has any questions, love to help you out, would love to support you in that. And I just want to say finally one more time is that I have been in the role of being let go. I have been in the seat where I felt like I didn't have any options, and I've also been in the seat where I felt like I was limited by either my education or the experiences that I had. I didn't have enough. And so, speaking from experience, speaking from somebody who's been there, if that's you, if you're still on, and if that's you, I feel for you and I understand. And I want to share that I'm very empathetic towards that. And that's why we're all here, and we're all here to support your journey. So make sure that you don't feel like you're in that journey alone, because you're not. It can feel very much like a vacuum or an echo chamber when you were going to being 40 hours a week employed and feeling like you're on the top of your game, to being let go and filing for unemployment, because it's hard. It's hard and you feel alone, but know that there are a lot of people out there that want to support your journey and that want to help you. And Albert and I are just two of them. So we're here for you. If there's anything we can do otherwise to support you, let us know. But make sure that if you have any questions about resumes, about coaching, about LinkedIn, about personal branding on LinkedIn, all of those things we've experienced, and we're happy to run future webinars about it. Hopefully next time Albert's a little bit more in tune and doesn't get called for jury duty and real work. I'm giving him a hard time, but it will be an opportunity. We can do this again. The first time's always the hardest, so thank you for sticking with us. If you've been around since the beginning of this call, we really appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate seeing you, and appreciate all the comments and seeing that we have such an international group here, and acknowledge that we know it's a choice. You didn't have to spend your time with us today, but we really do. We love that, and we hope that we provided some value. And if you need anything else, just let us know. Send us a message. You can connect with us on DMs and LinkedIn. That's probably where we're most active. And make sure if you want the free stuff, fill out the form, and we'll get you some free handouts over the weekend so you can get started on some resume tips, and then also a little bit of charting some of your journey next steps. All right. Have a great day, and I'm going to drop out. Hopefully that ends the stream, and we will see you next time. Let me know if you have any questions. Just drop in my DMs. Thanks, Albert. Let's see. I think he dropped it on LinkedIn, and I think he'll also drop it on YouTube. So thank you guys, and we'll see you the next time. Yep. So that's a free, you get what you pay for. Well, that is true. That is true. You get what you pay for. Our handouts might not be good, Jeremy, but let's hope they are. So the free is free. And well, let's hope that they're helpful. I think that the resume tips will be good, and it'll be worth what you pay for it. And then you also have the package link. Albert just dropped that in the LinkedIn chat, and he also just dropped it in the YouTube chat. So there should be some links there for you if you do want to take advantage uh, of the package deal. So, all right. Hopefully you guys have a great day. Give you back 1 minute of your time and keep on it. So have a great weekend, and we will talk to you again the next time.